Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits Vehicle and Driving Requirements Video Training. Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits. SGWS, U.S. Policy. Policy Title: Vehicle and Driving Requirements. Version Number 1. Issuing Department. HR Policy and Compliance. Publication Date: November 8, 2021. Last reviewed August 1, 2018. Population impacted: all SGWS U.S. employees. The vehicle and driving requirements apply to all company employees who drive while on company business, operate a vehicle owned or licensed by the company, or who otherwise operate motor vehicles as part of their normal work duties. Any employee for whom driving is an essential job function must follow 12 rules on the next upcoming slides. Should there be a conflict between these rules and those issued by the Department of Transportation or the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the latter will govern. First rule: driving incidents. All incidents must be reported to an employee's supervisor within 24 hours of their occurrence. For purposes of this policy, incident is defined as any driving-related arrest, citation, including for DUI, DWI. Failure to report an incident may result in discipline, up to and including termination. Second rule: company-provided vehicles. Only authorized employees may use company-provided vehicles. Excessive personal use of company-provided vehicles, unless authorized in advance, may result in discipline, up to and including immediate termination. Third rule: damages and fines. If a company-provided vehicle incurs any damage while under the charge of a particular employee, that employee must report the damage immediately and may be responsible for paying for some or all of the repair costs, including, without limitation, being required to sign a payroll deduction authorization to cover the costs, to be determined in the company's sole discretion and in compliance with state law. An employee is responsible for paying any fine or penalty incurred as the result of an incident and may be subject to discipline, up to and including termination, for not doing so. Fourth rule: unacceptable driving records. For employees for whom driving is an essential job function, an incident, even those occurring off-duty, may create an unacceptable driving record. An unacceptable driving record may result in discipline, up to and including immediate termination. Fifth rule: seatbelts. All employees must wear a seatbelt while driving or riding in any vehicle, while going to or from work, and at all times while performing company business. Furthermore, the company encourages all of its employees to wear seatbelts at all times, as required by state law. Sixth rule: motor vehicle record checks. For employees for whom driving is an essential job function or who drive a company-owned vehicle, a motor vehicle records, MVR, will be checked both prior to making an offer of employment and periodically, at least one time per year. In addition, the company may process an MVR request post-accident or if there is reasonable suspicion to suspect the employee is intoxicated, as set forth in our drug-free workplace and drug testing policy. As part of the hiring process, applicants will be required to sign a written consent form allowing the company to check their MVR at any time prior to or during their employment. Seventh rule: driver's license. All employees for whom driving is an essential job function must have a valid driver's license for the state in which the employee resides. Any employee whose driver's license is suspended or revoked must report the suspension or revocation to their supervisor immediately and must not drive on company business. Eighth rule: driving on company property. The company prohibits employees from speeding or operating a motor vehicle in a reckless manner on company property or in the course of performing his or her job duties. Speeds on company property must not exceed 10 miles per hour or the division posted speed limit if different. Company roadways and parking lots are considered as much a part of the company complex as the inside of a building, and employees are subject to all company rules on company roadways and parking lots. Ninth rule: insurance. All employees, non-DOT, required to drive their personal vehicle as part of their job duties are mandated to carry the minimum levels of insurance. All drivers must have Southern Glazers listed as additional insured or additional interest on his or her personal automobile insurance policy and must maintain at least $100,000 to $300,000, $50,000 in automobile insurance liability and property coverage at all times. All drivers pursuant to this section must immediately notify the company in writing of any changes in insurance and shall furnish the company with a copy of a certificate of insurance coverage naming Southern Glazers as additional insured or additional interest on or before any expiration or cancellation of said insurance. If the driver fails to fully satisfy these requirements, or if the driver becomes uninsurable, as defined by the insurance carrier, the driver shall be placed on suspension without pay immediately. If the driver fails to submit a copy of an acceptable certificate of insurance and insurance coverage with the company named as additional insured or additional interest within 7 days thereafter, he or she shall be terminated from his or her employment. Employees will be responsible for their deductible in the event of any incident that requires use of insurance. 10th Rule. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Requirements for Designated Drivers. Some drivers must undergo a physical and obtain a commercial driver's license, CDL, prior to driving. If a CDL is necessary for a position, then it must be maintained, or the driver will be unable to continue in the position. The following rules apply to all drivers holding a CDL and who therefore are regulated by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA. It is the driver's responsibility to maintain their driver's license and Department of Transportation, DOT, medical card in good standing. All commercial drivers must undergo a physical and maintain appropriate driver's license and endorsements. 11th Rule. Incidents that may require termination of driving privileges. The following incidents may result in the termination of an employee's driving privileges and may require that the employee be terminated or transferred to a position where driving is not an essential job function. 1. Repeated violations of any rules or regulations imposed by the FMCSA. 2. Leaving the scene of a collision, which involved a company vehicle without the permission of law enforcement, example, hit and run. 3. Failure to report a vehicle collision immediately to their supervisor. 4. Driving conduct or behavior deemed unacceptable after review by the regional president, operations, and/or human resources, regardless of whether a citation or other governmental action was initiated, such as road rage, reckless driving, preventable collisions causing substantial property damage or personal injury. 5. Suspension or loss of CDL. 6. Failure to utilize a seatbelt while the vehicle is in motion outside of company property. 12th Rule. Action required for incidents of unsafe driving practices while on duty. The following incidents may result in disciplinary action, up to and including termination. 1. Moving violations, example, speeding, failure to obey a traffic control device, improper turn or lane change, following too closely. 2. Preventable collisions as determined by the company. 3. Cell phone violations or operating a vehicle while texting. 4. Violations of federal state hours of service. 5. Operating a vehicle without proper licensing or medical certificates. 6. High occupancy vehicle, HOV, violation. 7. Violation of company policies relating to vehicle operation or safety. Thank you. This concludes the Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits Vehicle and Driving Requirements video training.